Here I wanted to take a little look at some colleges and universities and pertaining to their architecture. I'll start off by saying I believe many of these schools, universities, and colleges are simply repurposed castles often. And it's hard to even say that. I don't even think a castle is a castle. But nonetheless, these buildings are often beyond the needs of the students of the time. And more importantly, as I stress on this channel, I think no matter what time period these universities, churches, city halls, tombs, and monuments are built, they always resemble the same style, as if they were built by the same builders. In modern times, I've gone to school or taken classes in a strip mall. I've also gone to church in a strip mall and used the services of many municipalities, including the DMV and other administrations, in a strip mall. And serving its purpose just fine. One story, ample parking, nothing fancy. But today we'll have a little look at colleges and universities of the past. Welcome. So here we begin at Healy Hall in Georgetown University, Washington, D.C. And again, all these photos provided by Jeff and Crystal A. And we thank you for this. An absolute treat when somebody helps you out with anything. In this case, some research. I also want to thank my assistant Rosie, who has also facilitated this process this week. So, Georgetown University. A beautiful castle, several entryways, and at least 5 stories. And what would require this many rooms and floors and entryways today, in these times that we're living in? Off the top of my head, I can only think of one. A hotel. Even for a king and queen, this would be ridiculous. How many people would you be entertaining? But let's just suspend our disbelief. And where is Healy Hall located? Not far from the Potomac River, off of the main hub in the Washington grid. Here we can see the location of the Smithsonian Institute, and this here would be the Washington Monument. I'm always taken back with this grid and the ability to lay out a city in this geometric pattern in such an early time period. But not our point today. Healy Hall was constructed between 1877 and 1879. 2 years in 1877. That's about 1 floor every 4 months. And this building includes the Riggs Library, one of the few cast iron libraries still standing. So even more impressive that it has a cast iron core or framework, very impressive, in the year of 1877. And we're told the earliest cast iron artifacts date back to the 5th century BC. In the Jiangsu region of China, we're told because cast iron is brittle, it's not suitable where sharp edge or flexibility is required. It's strong under compression, but not under tension. The use of cast iron for structural purposes began in the late 1770s, until a disaster, the Tay Rail Bridge disaster of 1879, cast serious doubts on the use of the material. By the mid-19th century, cast iron columns were used in buildings combined with cast iron beams, eventually leading to the development of steel-framed skyscrapers. And in this particular case, it seems like it held up pretty well. And personally, I think this is older than 1877. Now we're going to look at a little castle in Wisconsin, Racine, Wisconsin. This is the Racine College, also known as the DeKoven Center. And what's going on in Wisconsin? Who knew? They were building school castles. And here we can see its location, just south of Milwaukee, and really looking like a church. I mean, let's be honest here. The cross in between a castle and a church. Not my first design if I was tasked to build a school. Nevertheless, this chateau was constructed between 1852 and 1876. A little over 20 years in the fragile year of 1852. And of course, the warden DeKoven dies a few years after construction is completed, reminding me of so many stories, including the Windsor ruins, in which the builder of a massive Romanesque building, who made his fortune on a cotton plantation, died only 1 year after its completion. Anyone who's been doing this research for a while quickly discovers they rehash these narratives over and over. In 1857, there was an expansion. The architect Lucas Bradley chose to make a twin to the first. So already it's not strange enough that he designed a church castle, but he decided to build another one. For what and who? In 1852 Wisconsin? We're also told that we have a different style brick found on this particular building. It's called the Cream City Brick, made from a clay found around Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So this is very interesting. We're always looking for the makers of the bricks in all these cities throughout the realm, and very little explanation is given. It's as if the writers of the false narrative were too lazy to come up with stories as to where all these bricks came from. And here we see the Cream City Brick, made from a red clay containing elevated amounts of lime and sulfur. This clay is common in regions of Wisconsin. When the bricks are fired, they become creamy yellow in color. And I'm sitting here in Utah, and this whole state is seasoned with these yellow, creamy bricks. These bricks are well known for their durability. Many buildings constructed with them in the 19th century still stand today. So here they're giving us an explanation, loosely, for these absolutely superior bricks that we don't make today with all our supposed advancement. And here they tell us, however, since there were numerous brick makers in the area, many Cream City bricks were not manufactured properly, and several buildings had to be encased in iron and concrete. And there's our facade. Here's our story. Why we don't build these bricks anymore, and what their solution was. And we see the repurposing of so many brick buildings covered in a concrete facade. And we came to this conclusion just through our research in this small community. And here's their explanation. And frankly, I don't even know if we did the facading. Even the facading, which clearly came after, is more advanced and intricate than the needs and abilities of our people in this time period. In 1995, there was a plan to convert these buildings into apartments. There you go. The repurposing continues. Already the thing looked like a church, but it was designated a school, and they don't need it as a school, not then and now, and make plans quietly to convert it into apartments. And the local residents cried out and put a stop to it. And you can lie to the people and tell them anything you want about history, especially when we're children. But when the parasites decide to tear something like this down, people are outraged, as if deep within, without knowing anything about the truth, they are still prompted to protect such beauty, again seldom found today. And I applaud these residents in Wisconsin. The irony is, it will probably sit empty, the building with no purpose, except for its purpose that will never fade, and that's its ability to inspire awe and revelry. And it's this very reason it was spared. Next, we will look at Trinity College in Ireland. Truly a warm welcome into this school, not too far south from this Liffey River, looking like it takes up a massive chunk of land here. It was constructed in between 1712 and 1732. The long room houses 200,000 of the library's oldest books, really looking like the inside of some cathedral. And how fascinating it would be to peruse through this library. And here we'll go even further back to 1592. We have the college at St. Patrick's Cathedral, originally founded in 1191. Look at this old ruin. This could be anything once again. And here they've made it two things, a cathedral and a college, going back as far as 1592 at a minimum, according to the narrative. I wonder how much the tuition cost. Next, we're going to go to a university in South Africa. And look at this, as if there's a whole city under here. Blocked up entrances, this massive wall. Just the ground that this school is sitting on is impressive enough. What I wouldn't do to poke around here for a day. And if any of our viewers are near the University of Cape Town, please have a gander. Located down on this little peninsula here in Cape Town. And again, we can see this same Greco-Roman architecture, both in Ireland and in South Africa. Different time periods, different parts of the world, same style. And this isn't cheap. Nothing about this architecture is cheap. And we have to remember a school is a business. Hence why some of them are in strip malls today. And of course there was a fire just recently in 2021. How did the fire make its way into the building? Through the windows? Past all the stone? Surely this was not a normal wildfire. And many 19th century watercolors of indigenous people were lost, maps, manuscripts, and government records. How convenient. Probably sitting in someone's private collection now. And our last university will be this one, the Kyung Hee University in South Korea. Ah yes, looking just as impressive as the White House. Of course, the South Koreans had to jump on this train as well. Every country in the realm wants to be part of this club. And in this club, no matter how far back in time we go, everything is built in the Greco-Roman style architecture. Whether it's a school, a government building, or a church. And once again, in this case, we get both a monumental building and a cathedral, all serving as a school. Why not? The Kyung Hee University and Natural History Museum opened in 1978. Let's not forget the museum. If you have a few extra buildings, why not designate one as a museum? And let's look at this museum, situated on the school campus. Ah, yes, just as I would expect. In the very recent year of 1978, South Korea decided to build the Haejung Museum like a cathedral. Why the hell not? But in actuality, this cathedral dates back to the 11th century, we're told. So it was simply repurposed into a museum because attendance must have been running a little low at church in North Korea. And just as we've done today with schools, we could do the same showcase with cathedrals And our only difficulty would be the blurred lines that we see in the narrative. In this case, blurring the lines between museum, cathedral, and school. What is what? And when we're told opened, we don't know if this building was already built, clearly seeming older than 1978. And my final parting question would very simply be, were these all schools built in these short time periods? Or did all of these buildings have another purpose, in which we know very little of today? So I think that's it. I thank you for joining me, and do have a blessed day. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I want to open up with the Constitution. The First Amendment: Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people to peacefully assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Let's just start with that. So recently I just shared a video with you all, sharing how I challenged the system, simply by asking questions and writing a letter. Similar to what I do on this channel, I'm attacked by a lot of different people for simply asking questions. And if we can't get logical answers to these questions, we should have no shame in asking more, until everything falls apart. And recently, in that video, somebody shared a comment with me on these various audit channels. This one that I'm watching here is called Long Island Audit. And there's several different ones. Audit this and audit that. And all pretty much doing the same thing. Some people doing it better than others. I think this channel does a really good job. And in short, what they are doing is auditing the system. And in almost every instance, the system is failing miserably. And the idea is you start off with something that you're lawfully allowed to do, such as filming in a post office, or a library, or a city hall, or any other public government space. And in this case, every post office actually has it posted. I'm sure you can recall walking into a post office and seeing a bunch of posters. And one of these posters is titled Poster 7. And Poster 7 clearly states that you're allowed to take photographs in the post office. In fact, right in this lobby where these people are standing. There's only about 12 rules on this poster. And photographing is one of them, which is allowed. And more importantly, the First Amendment gives the rights to film. This is the freedom of press. And most people think this is exclusive to some corporations. But no, freedom of press is granted to all the people. That's why it's in the First Amendment. It is a right of the people, not a right of the press. Freedom of the press is a right of all the people. And when these different channels walk into these public buildings, which are owned by the taxpayers, hence why they are public and not private, they are always met with the same hostility. First, the hostility comes from the patrons playing the role of the Karen, and then it comes from the employees, and nobody even realizes that it's posted in the lobby that you're allowed to film. And what do these people think? There's cameras all over this building, and yet when somebody raises a camera, people quickly take offense. Now, if this happened in Disneyland, nobody would be offended. Or if it happened at the Grand Canyon. Now, Disneyland is a private park. And even though people are filming all over the place, nobody seems to care. And they would never kick you out for filming. But for some reason, these servants of the public are under the impression that no cameras are allowed in this non-private space, in the people space, the public. And so initially these clearly staged situations begin by exercising a right that is absolutely certain and posted in the building. And many people, employees and customers, usually lose their cool and show their ignorance before the police are called. And this presents the second part of these videos, or the second audit. The audit on the stormtroopers. And they roll in hot and heavy. And if it wasn't for the camera recording them, might just start slamming people to the ground. And this is what makes these audit channels better or worse from one another, is their ability to stay cool themselves, knowing that they are absolutely within the lawful parameters of their rights. And it's pretty unbelievable. Anywhere from 5 to 10 officers called out for each incident. Much hostility, supervisors called in, postal enforcement, and every other agency they can muster up. And typically these videos end with all these public servants being humiliated and walking away a little wiser, I like to think. And I think what these channels are doing is absolutely important. Keeping the public servants honest, and at the very least, documenting the ones that are not, and cleaning up house a little bit. And I would like to see everybody as informed as these channels